everyone, I'm Marina and this is Pineapple Knits, a video cast about knitting, spinning, and other fiber arts. You can connect with me on the web at Pineapple Yarn, and you can visit my website at pineapplayarn.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first time joining me, thanks so much for checking out the channel, and I hope you love everything you see. I'm coming to you today from coastal South Carolina, where we just had a hurricane. It wasn't that bad. I actually think it made landfall around my area, but just the way the winds were and everything, it really was not that bad, thank goodness. So I received so many messages just checking on me and seeing how I was doing, and I appreciate those so much. We're doing just fine. I mean, we had to take some time at the beginning of this week to kind of prep the house and take care of the chickens and the garden, and then do a little cleanup afterward. So that set me behind a little bit this week, but if that's all the problems that I'm having from a hurricane, I'm not complaining, because really and truly it turned out pretty well. So thank goodness everything in my area is just fine. I know some people further north of me experienced some tornadoes and flooding, so that's not fun, but everything here at my house is good. So thank you for all of your messages and concern about that. I really appreciate it. So it's been so busy around here. I have been doing so much crafting, and I wish I had 4 arms and 24 more hours in the day, but I don't. So let me show you what I've been working on this week. So I think it was at the end of last week, I told myself that I could not weave on my new loom at all until I worked on the sweater. So I want to show you what I got done with this sweater. This is the Dahlia Solo, and I basically have knit the entire sweater. It's a sweet little baby cardigan with this adorable motif on the back, and I did, let's see, when I joined you last week, I had the body finished, and so this week what I did is I added the arms on and added the button band. I'm so proud because I got so far even to weaving the ends. So really what I have to do on the rest of this is put the buttons on and I'll be done. Now as far as the buttons go, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I'm either going to do some really sweet unfinished wood buttons, or I do have some kind of vintage antique mother of pearl buttons. I'm not really sure which ones to put on. So if you have an idea of what would look really good on this, leave it in a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, but I think either one would really just be so sweet on this little cardigan. So like I said, this is the Dahlia Solo cardigan. It's a very, very sweet pattern, and it comes with 3 variations. It has the cardigan, it has a pullover, and then it also has a pullover dress, which I think is so, so cute. And I am knitting the second smallest size. I'm using a US 4 needle for the body, and then also a US 2 for the ribbing. The yarn is a DK weight, but I received gauge. I got gauge in those needles, so that's what I'm using. And the yarn I'm using is from Plymouth yarn. It's called Dream Baby DK, and I told you wrong last week. It is a microfiber and nylon yarn. I really wanted something with this project. As I've mentioned before, I didn't want wool for the baby, and so this yarn has been really great to work with, and I think that even unblocked, you can just see how sweet that detail is. I think it turned out so cute. So that is what I've mostly been working on this week, is just finishing this up, weaving in the ends, getting it all ready for buttons. So if you have an idea of buttons, let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. And before I put the buttons on, of course, I will block it. I'm thinking of steam blocking it. So kind of up in the air about that. But I do think I will just steam block it, see how that goes. And yeah, and then sew the buttons on and I'll be done with this. I can't wait to gift it to my dear friend who had a baby, because I'm sure she will love this. So that was actually the bulk of my knitting this week. I do have a project I'm going to cast on though. I did want to mention with the last sweater, I had purchased 2 skeins of the Dream Baby DK and I needed a third to finish the button band. And so I purchased a third skein from Jimmy Bean's Wool and they were very fast to ship it. All in all, the sweater was very cost effective. I want to say it was under $20 to buy all of the yarn, so that was an added bonus. So let me show you the next project I'm going to be casting on. As you may recall, I dyed up several skeins of this yarn. The colorway is Sure Thing and it's from Pineapple Yarn. It's on a DK weight base. And I was going to use these for a sweater for my daughter. And I actually dyed up 5 skeins, which is plenty, because I found a project, or I found a pattern for her. She had wanted a cropped sweater, and she's 13, that's what she wanted. So I found this really, really cute pattern, and it's called Party Top from Abbye Knits. I think it was really big. Maybe about a year ago. That's when it was released, and so it was super popular. I saw so many knitters knitting this pattern, and yeah, so I'm really excited. It's a really sweet cropped sweater, and I think it has like eyelets on the sleeves as well. I used to always use Knit Companion on my phone to print out patterns, and now I have just started to print out patterns again, like I used to do back in the day, but I like to write a lot of notes, and I tend to knit the same patterns several times. And so for me, this works really, really well. And so that's what I've started doing. But yeah, I will be casting this on this week in this gorgeous yarn. I love this yarn. I just think it's so fun and summery, and it has so many pretty tones. So watch for that next week, because hopefully I'll make good progress on that. All right, I'm going to move on to weaving. For those of you who have watched the last couple of weeks, you will know that I am an extremely new weaver. But I finished a new project, and this is a table runner that I used. I had a kind of a random skein of Noro yarn in my stash, and I've always kind of wondered, what am I going to use with it? You know, what am I going to knit with it? But then I thought, oh, it would be so beautiful to weave with. So I used it for the warp, and it was probably it's a single ply yarn, and I would say it was probably a DK to a worsted weight. And so I paired it with a thinner weight yarn, and I pulled a skein from it. It's Pineapple Yarn in Crushing It. And so this is a fingering weight yarn, and this is what I used for the weft. And let me tell you, I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit of how I wove this yarn, or wove this project. And so this was the first project that I had really done a lot of calculations on. I wanted to use every last inch of my Noro yarn, and I did. So I did my calculations right. I warped like, I want to say 11 feet. And so as you can tell, this is doubled, and it's very, very long. And so it's for a big table in our house. I wish this runner was a little wider, but this was the max width on my loom, and so we'll just make it work. But I'm going to show you a close-up because I love how this turned out. It's going to look a little wrinkled because I wet blocked it and I didn't steam it after the fact. But this is the end. This is how I finished or began and finished the ends. As you can tell, I did not beat super firmly with this. I really wanted it to be kind of an airy weave, and then I beat it very, very firmly at the ends, and I love how that looks. It turned out to be such a really pretty finished look. I was really happy about that. And then I just left the ends in fringe because I don't have a fringe twister. But as you can tell, the warp is the predominant color, but then you can see all of these gorgeous speckles throughout the project. It has such a beautiful drape. It's lightweight, it's so airy. I'm incredibly happy with how it turned out, and I've been putting it on my table, and it's so beautiful. I love it. One thing I really liked about this weaving project as well is that it's so massive. I feel like if down the line I don't want to use it as a table runner, I could repurpose this fabric and do something different with it, which is really fun. And it's so fun, it's so cheerful, and the kids love it, so I'm just really happy with it. Now, one thing I learned from my last weaving project is that the tension of your warp is very important. And I've read this, I have weaving books I've been reading, and I've been watching as many YouTube videos as I can, and I didn't realize how important the tension of the warp is until I experienced my last project, and I didn't have long enough, I guess, paper while in my back bar when I was winding the warp, and so it became uneven, the tension did, and the selvages were very, very tight. And so I was extra careful with this when I prepped the warp. I just was so careful about tensioning, and I actually used some thick craft paper that was a wide enough width while winding my warp, and I thought it turned out so pretty. So anyway, all in all, I'm very happy with it. Yeah, I wanted to show it to you because I was so happy. And so what I need to invest in what I need to invest in is I really want to get a fringe twister. I love long fringe, and while this looks fine, this kind of fringe, I just think it would look a little more finished if it was twisted. So yay, I was really happy about this. I think the heddle I used is an 8 dent heddle, which is normally used with a DK weight yarn. It's the heddle that actually came with the looms, and so maybe it was like a 7 or an 8 dent. And the loom I have is a Kromski Presto 10 inch, and so this would be the max width. In case you're wondering, in case you're thinking about getting one, this is the max width right here. And I want to say this is about, for this project, it ended up being about 8.5 inches across, because I was measuring it, and then as I went on, I kind of got into the project and the feel of it, and so I wasn't measuring as much, measuring the width to make sure it was consistent throughout the project. But yeah, it was really pretty, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. For spinning, I started a spinning project, and I didn't bring it in here into my knitting corner because I'm not very far along, but it has been a great spin, and I'm sure I'll show you more next week. But I do want to show you the next spin that I'm prepping for. And those of you on Instagram probably have seen this post, but what I do when I am skeining yarn is, so yarn has a lot of extra ends on it, and what I do is I just go through, make sure there's no tangles, and clip off and tighten the strings that are on a skein before I wind it. So I do spend quite a bit of time prepping my skeins before I wind them, and I just like them to look really, really nice. But I have tons of ends left over, and I just have a little kind of a bin that I put them in as I'm working. And for quite a while, I mean, I want to say a couple of years, I've always thought, what could you do with these? They're so beautiful. I mean, there's so many different shades of, you know, pops of brights and pops of deeps, and they're really beautiful. And I thought one day, why not just put it on the blending board and use it as tweed? And so that's what I did one day. I got quite a bit large length of undyed Polwarth yarn or Polwarth wool, and put one layer on my blending board, added all of the teeny tiny ends that I had clipped. I had clipped them very, very tiny, and basically made a tweed sandwich with the Polwarth, and this is how it turned out. How pretty is that? I think these turned out so pretty. And I have a whole bin right here I'm going to show you. I made a ton. Aren't those so pretty? So that is what I worked on with the blending board this week. And I am going to be spinning these probably long draw. I had always thought I never could spin long draw, and I started doing it the last time I was spinning, and it was so much fun. And so these will be long draw. I'll probably do, I'm not sure if I'm going to ply them yet, because I would really like to put these in a weaving project. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I am going to do. I think this would be a gorgeous single ply, use a thinner warp, you know, maybe a fingering weight warp in like a contrasting color. I'm not really sure. So anyway, that's what I did, is I blended up a ton of rolags on the blending board. I didn't weigh them, and I should have, but I will let you know the weight. And yeah, so that'll be the next spinning project as soon as I get the one that I have off the wheel. So that is it for all the crafting I've done this week, and I kind of went over some life news at the beginning of the podcast. I've just been dyeing yarn like crazy, y'all. Tons of yarn. We just had the end of the month, and so I am dyeing up all of the August clubs right now. They're actually all dyed and they're drying right now, and all of the new September clubs are up. I did want to mention two things. First of all, the advent calendar for 2020 is still not listed in the shop. I will keep you updated on that. I'll let you know if and when I can procure some mini skeins out of thin air. I would love to be able to do that to put my advent calendar back up, but stay tuned. We'll see what happens. The other thing is that in my September clubs, the Low Country Club, this is its final month. This is its final installment. So if you liked the club and you're interested in purchasing it, just know that this will be the last month for that club. I'm not sure if anything will take its place now. I've been playing with a few ideas, but come October, I will only have 2 clubs. So just a heads up on that. But yeah, other than that, that's all that's been going on this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like the podcast, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. And I hope to see you next week. But until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.